Hi everyone, long time no see. Apologies for my absence. Life happened. Now I'm back, and I hope you like the next set of stories. Enjoy. Subject: I know what I saw in Oklahoma. Hey man, I've been meaning to tell you this for a while, but I didn't want to come off like a lunatic. You know, I teach survival for a living. I've spent nights in the Rockies with nothing but a tarp and a Bowie knife. I've tracked gators through bayous in pitch black. I don't scare easy. But something happened this past summer in Oklahoma that I can't explain. And believe me, I've tried. You're the one, and only one, I trust enough to tell this straight. Just promise you won't laugh. It started mid-July. A few of us, guys I've known for years, decided to do a week-long summer camp-style reunion near Broken Bow Lake. Real wilderness, no fancy cabins, just tents, gear, and a shared love for the outdoors. I brought my dog, Buckshot. Yeah, I know, stupid name, but the mutt earned it. Got a bark that could knock a squirrel out of a tree, and a nose better than a bloodhound. There were 5 of us. Me, Craig, former Marine, quiet but reliable. Lenny, a city guy trying to prove something. Travis, avid hunter, bit of a joker. And Drew, paramedic, solid under pressure. We were loaded up with knives, axes, and even a couple of handguns, just for safety. I brought my compound bow, mostly out of habit. It rained non-stop for the first 2 days. Not a storm, just that slow, heavy drizzle that soaks you to the bones. The ground turned to mush, tents sagged, fires were impossible unless you babied them with dry tinder we brought from the truck. But we were all in good spirits. We cooked some mean chili on the first night, my own recipe. Buckshot sat next to me the whole time, ears twitching at every sound beyond the firelight. I figured he was just keyed up from the trip. He's not a camp dog, more of a patrolled yard type. The first weird thing happened on night 3. We'd all turned in, the fire was down to embers, and the rain had finally eased off. I was half asleep when Buckshot growled, low and steady, not this usual stranger danger bark, but the kind of growl you only hear when something's wrong. I sat up in my sleeping bag, unzipped the tent, and peeked out. Nothing but trees and mist. Then I saw Craig's silhouette, maybe 30 feet from the fire pit, just standing there. No flashlight, no movement, just standing. "Craig?" I whispered. He didn't answer. "Craig?" Louder this time. Still nothing. I grabbed my flashlight, stepped out, Buckshot by my side, tense as a tripwire. I shined the light where I saw him, but no one was there. The ground was muddy. I should have seen prints. Nothing, not even a scuff. I walked over to Craig's tent. He was inside, snoring. That was the first time I felt real cold that night, like something had brushed its fingers across the back of my neck. The next day, I told the guys what I saw. Lenny joked that maybe the trees were playing tricks on me, or that Buckshot had sniffed a raccoon. Craig looked uneasy though, even if he didn't say much. We spent the day fishing and doing some orienteering for fun. Still raining, still cold for July. That evening, Drew found a dead rabbit near the creek. Gutted, but not eaten. Looked like something clawed it open and left it. We chalked it up to a bobcat, but none of us really bought that. That night, we doubled the fire, posted a watch. Travis and I took first shift. About 2 a.m., Buckshot started pacing again, tail down, ears back, nose in the wind. Then came the noise. A scream, but not human, and not any animal I've ever heard. It started high and keening, then dropped into this guttural bone-deep growl that echoed through the trees. Buckshot bolted into the brush before I could grab him. I sprinted after him, Travis behind me, flashlight jerking around. I called and called, "Buckshot, Buck!" But he wasn't barking anymore, just silence and wet leaves slapping against our boots. We found him maybe 60 yards out, standing frozen, staring into the dark. He was trembling. I've never seen him like that. Travis shone the light ahead. That's when I saw it. Just for a second, maybe 10 feet beyond the reach of the light, something tall, gaunt. Its head was too narrow, its limbs too long, like they'd been stretched. In the eyes, they didn't reflect red like an animal's. They absorbed the light, swallowed it whole. I whispered, "Back away, slowly." We didn't run, not yet. That thing followed us, just beyond the trees. I could hear it, wet steps on moss, twigs snapping. Buckshot never took his eyes off it, and he didn't make a sound. When we got back to camp, I told everyone to pack. Lenny argued, said we were just spooked. Then we showed him the claw marks on a tree 10 feet off the ground. Not a scratch, deep gouges. Something tall made those. We left in less than an hour, drove to the ranger station and reported a possible predator in the area. They humored us, probably marked it as a bear sighting, but I knew better. Back home, I couldn't let it go. I started digging Wendigo legends. Not just the Hollywood crap, but the old Algonquian lore. Starving spirits, once human, cursed by cannibalism, tall, emaciated, driven by an eternal hunger, stalkers. I found maps of sightings. Eastern Oklahoma had a few. Old reports, whispers, nothing recent. But the area we camped in, right on the edge of those. You want to know the worst part? About a month later, I found scratches on my back fence. Buckshot won't go near the woods anymore. I haven't either. So yeah, call me crazy if you want, but I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And if you ever go camping up there, keep your fire high, your back to your friends, and your eyes on the tree line. Some things don't want to be seen, but they see you. Signed, Sean. Subject: I saw it, and it saw me. Hey there, do you ever watch those cryptid shows on late night cable? The kind with blurry photos and locals swearing on their grandma's grave that Bigfoot wrecked their chicken coop? Yeah, I used to laugh at those too. Used to. But something happened this past summer that I can't shake. I wasn't in some backwater hollow listening to banjo music. I was with friends, armed, prepared, and yet, what we saw out there in Arizona, what attacked us, wasn't supposed to exist, but it did, and it still might. Let me back up. My name's Damian Cole. I'm from Missoula, Montana. I teach survival courses, real hardcore stuff. Isolation drills, high desert navigation, animal tracking. You've seen those TV survival guys? Picture them, but angrier, with better traps. My side hobby is gym training, just something to keep the edge sharp. It's all about discipline. So this July, I agreed to meet up with some old buddies for a week-long survival-style camp in the Arizona highlands. Not the scorched desert like most folks picture. This was higher elevation, near the White Mountains, Pine Top Lakeside area. Elevation gets over 6,000 feet up there. You can get real weather. And brother, we did. It snowed. Not sleet, not hail, snow. In July. The locals said it was the weirdest summer in decades. Freak cold front, something La Nina. I wasn't too concerned. We packed for light gear, but I always carry emergency thermal wraps and tarps. Being unprepared is a death sentence in the wild. There were 5 of us. Me, Rob, an EMT out of Salt Lake, Jules, former Air Force, solid tracker, Def, a newbie to this kind of stuff but eager, and Max, the funny one, guy couldn't tie a knot but always had you laughing. No pets, no fancy gadgets, just knives. 1 rifle between us, a flare gun, and a few utility axes. The second night, things started going sideways. We'd built camp in a clearing not too far from a stream. Good visibility, good water access, surrounded by tall, ponderosa pines. Snow started falling again. Wet, heavy stuff. Sound got muffled, like the woods were holding their breath. We were sitting around a half-dead fire, trying to dry socks and share bad stories, when we heard it. Not a howl, not a growl, a roar, long, guttural, and pissed off. Now look, I spent nights around bears. I know what a bear sounds like. This wasn't it. This thing echoed like it had lungs the size of an oil drums. Rob whispered, "Mountain lion?" "No cat makes that kind of sound," I said, already grabbing my knife and scanning the tree line. Then we heard the cracking. Not twigs, trees. It was pushing through the woods like the forest owed it money. Max stood up and shouted, "Yo, we are armed, back off." That was a mistake. Out of nowhere, he charged into the clearing, black silhouette, maybe 8 feet tall, built like a freight train, with arms. No fur coat, like you see in cartoons. This thing looked like something that had crawled out of the earth itself. Thick matted hair, grey skin underneath, eyes like hot coals. It went straight for Max. Jules grabbed the rifle and fired 3 quick shots. 1 hit. The creature howled and swatted Max aside like a toy. He flew at least 10 feet, hit the snow, didn't get up. This thing didn't stay. It barreled back into the trees, leaving massive footprints in the slush. Not bear tracks, human-shaped, just wrong proportions, like someone stretched the toes too far. We ran to Max. He was bleeding from a head wound. Concussion for sure. We carried him back to the tents and packed like the devil was on our heels. We didn't talk, we moved. The trail back to the vehicle was rough. Deep snow in July, wet branches everywhere, wind kicking up like a damn hurricane. The sun was long gone. We had headlamps and flashlights, but the forest swallowed the light. You ever feel like the dark has a shape? That night, it watched us. Then it struck again. Def was in the rear when we heard him scream. Spun around, shined the light, and there it was, grabbing him by the leg. He had his multi-tool open, started slashing at its arm like a madman. Jules fired the rifle again. Click. Jammed. I lunged forward with my hatchet and struck its shoulder. That's the first time I felt it. Its skin wasn't warm. It was cold, like meat that's been in the freezer too long. It smelled like rot, like it had been dead longer than it'd been alive. It roared again and let go, disappearing into the woods. Def's leg was shredded, muscle torn, bleeding like hell. Rob patched him as best as he could. We weren't more than half a mile from the truck at this point. We made it, limping, soaked, bruised and broken, but alive. Got Def to a hospital in Show Low. They told us it was a bear attack. Right. Now here's the kicker. About 2 weeks before that trip, I watched an old cable show with my nephew, Monsters of the Wild or something cheesy like that. They had a Bigfoot episode. Laugh tracks, shaky cameras, night vision shots of bushes. But one part stuck with me. A native elder talked about a guardian spirit turned monsters. Said when the land is wronged, burned, poisoned, stripped, it wakes the old things, that they don't come for food, they come for punishment. I didn't think much of it at that time. I do now. I haven't told my wife the full story, just said Max had a fall and Dev got attacked by a bear. I don't want them scared, but I've started locking the back gate. I've added motion lights along the tree line. I keep the hatchet by the front door now, because I know what's out there. And if you ever find yourself camping in the mountains of Arizona in the dead of summer and it starts to snow, get the hell out. Don't wait to see what's watching you from the trees, because it's not watching, it's waiting. Signed, Damien. Subject: the thing in the Ozarks. You'll never catch me camping there again. Look, I know you're into creepy stuff, but this isn't some made-up story for clicks or some campfire crap to scare the kids. What happened to me last winter in the Ozarks was real. As real as my busted shoulder and the damn scars of Kong's back. Yeah, my dog, that's what I call him. Big brute, American bulldog mix. Loyal as hell, smarter than most people. You know, I've been a survival instructor for years now. Boston born and raised, but I've taught all over the country. I live lean, I train harder than most 20-year-olds, and I don't scare easy. Cold, storms, isolation, bring it on. But this wasn't nature, this was something wrong. It all started with a camping trip I never should have agreed to. Me, Ricky, ex-cop, hard-ass, Joel, a nurse from Kansas City, quieter but level-headed, and Nolan, a greenhorn I'd been mentoring. We decided to hit the Ozark Mountains mid-December. Yeah, winter camp. No tourists, no crowds, just rugged terrain and raw weather. Real survival. The plan was 2 nights out, test our cold weather gear and some new tools. We picked a high ridge near Devil's Den State Park. Strange name, I know, but I figured it was just local color. It was cloudy when we got there. Heavy low-hanging clouds, like the sky was pressing down on the world. Snow hadn't hit yet, but the cold bit through layers. Kong trotted beside me, alert, tail high. He was used to the wild. We set up camp around 3 p.m. First fire was stubborn. Nolan fumbled the magnesium striker, but we got it going. I cooked up some rabbit stew, old recipe I learned from a guy in Alberta. Hit the spot. Everything was calm until nightfall. That's when it showed up. We were sitting around the fire, swapping stories. I brought up that old horror movie, The Beast of Bray Road. Remember that one? Cheap special effects, cheesy plot, but it creeped me out when I saw it as a kid. This thing, half man, half wolf, stalking a small town. I joked, only thing we gotta worry about out here is frostbite and bears. Yeah, I wish. Around 11 p.m, Kong sat up, hackles raised, and let out a low, deep growl. Not a bark, not a yip. The kind of growl that says something bad is here. Probably a coyote, Ricky muttered, reaching for his flashlight. Then came the scream, high-pitched at first, almost human, but drawn out into a howl, layered with this wet, guttural snarl at the end. Joel dropped his thermos. That wasn't a coyote. No, I said, already grabbing my hatchet. Then the brush behind us exploded. The dogman hit us like a battering ram, 7, maybe 8 feet tall, long limbs, thick with muscle, covered in dark fur matted with what looked like dirt and dried blood. The head, God help me, the head was pure wolf, narrow, long snout, eyes burning yellow in the firelight. But the way it moved wasn't animal. It grabbed Ricky first, lifted him like a toy, and slammed him against a tree. I swung the hatchet. Kong lunged with me. We both connected. My blade cut deep into its side, and Kong tore into its leg. The thing screamed, not in pain, in rage. It dropped Ricky, who was out cold, bleeding from the head, and bolted into the dark. Gone, just like that. We dragged Ricky into one of the tents. He was breathing, but out of it. Joel stabilized him, rubbed his head, checked his spine. No way we could carry him through the forest in that terrain. And that meant one thing. We had to spend the night. I doubled the fire. We set watches. Kong didn't sleep. He just paced, nose twitching. All around us, the woods changed. No insects, no birds, just wind and that unnatural silence. We heard heavy steps in the dark, branches cracking under weight no deer could make. And the smell? Wet dog and rotting meat. It didn't attack again that night. Not directly, but it stalked us. We'd catch glimpses between trees, just outside the firelight. You know how your brain tries to explain things away? I couldn't, not this. At 4 a.m. Joel whispered, "It's watching us." I didn't answer. I already knew. Come sunrise, the clouds hadn't broken. Still grey, still bitter. Ricky came to but couldn't walk. We built a stretcher out of paracord and branches, bundled him up, and hauled ass. Joel had the shotgun. I had my hatchet. Nolan carried Ricky's legs. Kong scouted ahead. The dogman wasn't done. 2 miles from the trailhead, we heard it again. Behind us, close, running. Kong turned and growled, and that thing came out of the brush, mouth wide, showing jagged yellow teeth. Nolan tripped. It went for him. I didn't think. I tackled it from the side with everything I had, hatchet flashing. Kong joined in, biting its arm. Joel fired. The shot hit, blood sprayed. The dogman shrieked, swung at me, clawed my jacket clean open. Didn't break the skin thanks to the liner. It backed off, limping now but not beaten, just waiting. We didn't stop again until we hit a small town 10 miles out. Locals helped us. We told them it was a bear. One guy looked at me and just said, "Devil's Den will do that." Like he knew. I've been back home for 3 months. Ricky recovered. Nolan never spoke about it again. Joel quit camping entirely. Kong still sleeps by the door, growls at the woods sometimes. I've trained in some of the worst conditions on Earth. I faced storms, predators, even a lunatic with a knife once in Alaska. Nothing ever felt like that. That thing in the Ozarks wasn't hunting. It was judging. And I'll never forget its eyes in the firelight, watching us like it was deciding who it wanted to drag into the trees. Stay out of the woods near Devil's Den, especially when the sky is grey and the animals go quiet, because that's when it comes out. Signed, John.